Hello, welcome to Inside the Summit League, and another week and another new basketball coach in the league. And the good news, I guess, is that the Summit League coaches are doing great things, moving on and moving up in the ranks. And the other good news is that we keep bringing good new coaches into the league. And the latest and the last of the spring shuffle so far this year is at the University of South Dakota. On Monday, the Coyotes introduced Dawn Plitzowite as their new women's basketball coach. She is originally from Wisconsin and was a really good college player at Michigan Tech in the mid-1990s. She has built an impressive coaching resume in the last 20 years as an assistant and as a head coach. She was the head coach at Grand Valley State in Michigan, a Division II powerhouse that she coached to the D2 National Championship in 2006. After that, she was an associate head coach in the Big Ten at Michigan. And then for the last 4 years, she has been the head coach at Northern Kentucky. It's a program that just joined the Horizon League last year.
We changed this year to the Horizon League. That I call that kind of the mid-major version of Big Ten basketball. I think there's a lot of similarities between the Summit League and the Horizon League. So certainly I think that really bodes well moving forward. A conference where teams are very disciplined, they share the ball, they shoot the ball extremely well, really attack the rim and make good decisions. So from that standpoint, I think it really prepares me well moving into the Summit League going from the Horizon. You know, South Dakota, it was on my radar just because they've had such national success in the WNIT. But even at that, really wasn't until I had a chance to talk to the administration here when they called to see really what it was all about. When I looked at it initially, I thought that it's a great opportunity from a professional standpoint. Then what had to be figured out was, is it the right move for our family? And that's really, if you're going to have a family program and a family atmosphere, then you really have to take your family seriously. And I have a great support staff, a husband who was a point guard as well in college, and someone who has really given up his career so that I could pursue mine. 2 children, a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old. So it really had to be the right fit for our family. And once that was figured out that it was a great move for our family, it was a no-brainer.
So congrats to Dawn Plitzowite, and the league is now whole again, so to speak, at the head coaching level for men's and women's basketball with Plitzowite at South Dakota and Niecy Nelson, the new women's head coach at IPFW. She was introduced last week. Nelson was an assistant at Fort Wayne for 1 season back in their early Division I days in 2005, and for the last 11 years, Nelson has been an assistant at the University of San Diego, and they are very excited about having her back in Fort Wayne.
We watched her engage people in a very unique way and get them excited about her vision for a new era of women's basketball.
And we're going to bring an exciting style of basketball to Fort Wayne in this community. Okay, it's going to start and be deeply rooted in our defensive game, and then we're going to be super aggressive in our transition offense. So I think I have a lot of good starting points in the pieces that we have here. Watched a lot of film on these young ladies, and I've been very, very impressed with the way they've handled this.
While at San Diego under Coach Cindy Fisher, Coach Nelson had a large role in recruiting, retaining, and graduating student athletes, while achieving multiple 20-plus win type seasons and securing postseason play. Going into this process, and some people think it's a long one, and from other perspectives, they think it was, wow, how'd you do that in a month if you go through a national search? In athletics and in athletics time, it was a long time though, but it was important that we get this thing right.
So 2 new women's coaches and 2 new men's coaches this year in basketball. Plitzowite at South Dakota, Nelson at Fort Wayne, and then on the men's side, TJ Otzelberger takes over the program at South Dakota State, and Rodney Billups is the new men's head basketball coach at Denver. Well, up next, Denver dominates again this year at the Women's Golf Championships, and the backstory on a Pioneer senior who takes top individual honors this year. She is from the same hometown in Northern Ireland as PGA Tour star Rory McIlroy.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Welcome back. For the third year in a row now, the Denver Pioneers have won the Summit League Women's Golf Championship, and they break their own team record in doing it this year. The Pios shoot .878 in the 54-hole tournament. That is 9 shots better than the record that they set just a year ago. All 5 of Denver's players this year finish in the top 8, and Denver junior Jessica Carty ties the tournament individual record with a 1 over par 217 total. She made 10 birdies over the 3-day tournament. And on the team totals, Denver leads start to finish. South Dakota State turns in its best performance ever, but the Jackrabbits finished 52 shots back this year. Brenna Lervik of South Dakota is the only non-Denver player in the top 5. She finished 3rd, but Denver does it again, and Jessica Carty is the tournament MVP.
The past couple of years, seeing other teammates win definitely kind of encouraged me. So it got tough in the last sort of 9 holes. It was a bit nervous and a bit shaky, but I had a nice birdie on 16 to kind of settle me down, and then a nice par on the last. So yeah, it was awesome.
You know, I knew it was going to come soon, and she had a great chance in the fall and played some great tournaments, great rounds at the Ron Moore tournament, shooting 66. So she got a taste of it in the fall, and I think that motivated her even more. She always wanted a tournament win, and this is her first individual tournament win, so very well deserved. She's been a great leader for us.
Yeah, I'm really proud of everyone on how they performed today. It wasn't easy out there at all. The wind was really strong, and it was playing pretty longer than it has been, so I'm delighted that we were able to get the job done. Obviously we had a nice cushion going into the final round, so just really pleased with everyone that we were able to get the win.
Well, Jessica Carty is from Northern Ireland. She's from the same hometown as international superstar Rory McIlroy. And here's the story we did with Jessica in the fall of 2014 during her sophomore season at Denver. Jessica Carty is just a sophomore on the Denver women's golf team. She finished tied for 8th last year in the Summit League Championships. And she has thoughts of maybe getting paid to play someday.
I still have a couple more years here, but I'd like to work hard, see how it goes, and then consider turning pro. I don't know, it's hard to call right now, but get my education kind of out of the way and work hard here with my golf over the next couple of years, and definitely I'd consider turning pro, yeah.
Well, that would put her in the company of another pro from her hometown, a young man who won the British Open this year and is the #1 ranked player in the world. Rory McIlroy and Jessica Carty both hail from a little town in Northern Ireland called Holywood.
It's a pretty small town. It's about 5 minutes from the capital city, Belfast. But like, you would walk down the street and you would know everyone. It's really small, and the golf club is great. Everyone, it's like a really close club, and everyone is really supportive of like me when I'm doing well, and obviously they were really proud that Rory's from there, so it's a nice little town.
And in that nice little town, people know people, and it just so happens that the Cartys got to know the McIlroys.
My dad grew up playing golf at the club, and all his family grew up playing there. They were all pretty good golfers as well, so yeah, my dad and Rory's dad have been pretty close, and my mom actually used to babysit him when he was younger. She has some funny stories, so yeah, that's how that came about.
McIlroy is a handful of years older than Carty, but the two have crossed paths before and talked a bit about the game. He gave her some advice not too long ago.
Just to keep working hard. I actually won the Irish Girls, which is like our national championship. I won it a couple of years ago, and he somehow found out and sent me a text saying like, "Jess, I heard the good news, good job, keep up the hard work." So that's all he's pretty much said, keep up the hard work. He's just a normal guy, he's just like anyone else. He hasn't changed a bit, and when he comes back to Hollywood, he just comes into the golf club and sits down with someone like anyone else would, so he's a really nice guy. It's scary to think of what he will be able to do in the game of golf, and he's already achieved so much at such a young age, and I personally don't think there's anyone out there that strikes a ball like he does, so it'll be interesting to see how far he can go and how many more majors he can win.
Well, McElroy did win the PGA Championship after that story ran in 2014, but he has not won a major since. Jessica McCarty, meanwhile, gets the mid-major this year. She is the Summit League champion, and she and her Denver teammates will find out this week where they will play in the NCAA Regionals. Those get started on May 5th. Softball coming up next. North Dakota State and Omaha just keep on sweeping, and we've got a story on some softball sisters bringing out the best in each other on the field at Western Illinois.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Welcome back now to softball, and a lot of us have a younger little brother or sister that we used to beat up on as kids until they eventually got taller and stronger than us, and then it was even more fun to have them on your team. And that has kind of been the case over the years for two siblings on the softball team right now at Western Illinois. Here is Eric Sutera with the story in Macomb.
Tierney Bettino and Sydney Bettino, sisters on the Leatherneck softball team, have been playing together for their whole lives. And how they ended up at Western together was influenced by quite a few people.
Actually, fun fact, both of our parents went here. So a lot of it was because of them. We kind of got interested in it. They told us to take a look at it. They're like, take a look, we both went here. And my former high school teammate, Leah Romeo, actually played here too. So that was a big part of the reason. When I came, I just fell in love with it. And I think when my sister came on her visit, she felt the same.
Having Tierney here with me, that's just the most ideal for me. I can't really imagine now, after experiencing most of my freshman year, without Tierney here.
Tierney, being the older sister in her senior season, has taken it upon herself to help her younger sister, Sydney, grow and develop as a player.
A lot of it is I feel more for her, what she does during a game, than I do for myself. So it's actually really awesome to see her grow, because in the short few months that she's been here, she's gotten so much better. And I've gotten to see her develop over the years. For the past 8 years we've played together.
It's really nice just having her there. I always hear her voice whenever I'm up to bat in the field. She's always yelling at me at practice. I know some people would kind of get mad about that, but I like having her there. I like to hear her voice giving me feedback on everything that I'm doing wrong or well.
Rivalry and competition is common amongst most siblings, but these two show their support to each other more than anything.
You know, she actually has always been way stronger than me and can hit the ball way farther. So, this past weekend, or when we played USD and she was doing so well, I'm like, wow, she is doing a million times better than me. But honestly, it's actually really, really awesome and satisfying to see her do a good job just as much as it would be to see anyone else.
We were on the same travel team my freshman year of high school and her senior year of high school. I wouldn't say we were competing though, just because I was so much younger, I was so much unexperienced. But everybody else on that team, her too, they helped the other freshmen out, they helped the underclassmen out. It was really fun.
The next softball team will head up to North Dakota State to take on the Bison in Fargo for a 3-game series this weekend. For Western Illinois Athletics, I'm Eric Sutera.
Well, they did head up to Fargo, and the Bison beat them like they've been doing to everybody else this year. We've got highlights of that series coming up in a second. But North Dakota State sweeps 3 games from Western Illinois. NDSU is on a 22-game win streak overall right now. And Alyssa Reyna is the player of the week. She went 8 for 10 in that series against the Leathernecks, had 3 doubles, 2 home runs, and 6 runs batted in. Pitcher of the week is Caitlin Moody at IUPUI, freshman with a shutdown performance against South Dakota State on Saturday. She had a complete game, 9 strikeouts in a 2-1 win over the Jackrabbits. Moody has a 3.19 ERA right now. That is 3rd best in the league. So here are the Jaguars in action in that series at South Dakota State over the weekend, and North Dakota State in their home sweep against Western Illinois. IUPUI at South Dakota State on Saturday, and a good start for the Jags. Top of the first, Maggie Good with an RBI double. and it's 1-0 IUPUI. Brianna Clark, though, working overtime in the circle for South Dakota State. One of her 7 strikeouts. She goes all 11 innings for the Jackrabbits, and South Dakota State ties the game in the 4th. Allie Herdliska with her 14th home run of the season. That is 2nd in the league, and the game is tied 1-1. Each team gets a run in the 8th. Go all the way to the bottom of the 11th inning. Herdliska doubles to lead off the inning. She moves to 3rd with 1 out, and on a close play at the plate, it's a walk-off on a wild pitch for the Jackrabbits, and they win game 1 3-2 in 11 innings. IUPUI comes back, though, to take the next 2 games. Jags win 2-1 in Game 2 on Saturday, and then in Game 3 on Sunday, Delilah Wright coming on in center field. I think she expected more of a slide or a roll at the end of that play, but a nice grab, though. Allie Mosier and Taylor Chitwood both double and homer for IUPUI, and the Jags win Game 3 6-2. And in Fargo, tally up 3 more W's for the Bison. North Dakota State with a sweep of Western Illinois. Alyssa Reyna, the player of the week, she and Logan Moreland both with home runs in Game 1, and the Bison take that one 7-1. Reyna stays hot in Game 2 with a double and a triple and 3 more runs batted in. Jacqueline Surdick gets her 20th win of the season, and the Bison take Game 2 10-2, and they finish up the series sweep on Sunday, win that one 7-4. Reyna and Moreland homer again. Reyna with 8 hits in this series raises her average by 42 points, and NDSU is 12-0 in Summit League play. Well, up next, he just might be the best starting pitcher in the Summit League right now, certainly making a case for it anyway. He is Omaha's ace, back with a rare performance in baseball after this.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Welcome back now to baseball. Tyler Fox was the Summit League Pitcher of the Year as a sophomore in 2014. Had a bit of a down year last year, but he still finished 2nd in the league with an ERA under 3. And this year, Fox has been outstanding in his senior season in Omaha. He was dealing on Friday at home against South Dakota State. Gets Anthony Schneider looking to end the 2nd inning. And then Fox gets Cody Sharrow swinging to lead off the 3rd inning. And even with a man on in the 3rd, he gets Paul Jacobson swinging to end the 3rd inning. 5 strikeouts through 3 innings for Fox. And then a nasty pitch here to get Newt Johnson to lead off the 5th inning. He had 3 strikeouts on pitches in the dirt where the Mavericks had to make the play over at first base. Fox gives up a bunt single and an infield single in the 8th inning, but with 2 on and 1 out, he gets a double play ball out of Nick Smith. No runs on 4 hits, no walks through 8 innings for Tyler Fox. South Dakota State does get to him for a run in the 9th inning, but Fox goes the distance to win it 4-1. He strikes out 10, and that is good for co-pitcher of the week honors this week. Tyler Fox leads the league right now with 7 wins. And how rare is a complete game win? This is just the 2nd for Tyler Fox in 49 career starts. Meanwhile, Jordan Harms had a fine week on the mound as well. North Dakota State's freshman with 4 good innings against Minnesota, and then gets his first collegiate win with a 6 shutout inning win against Western Illinois on Saturday. And Paul Jacobson had 1 hit in that loss to Tyler Fox and Omaha in the first game of that series, but Jacobson comes back with 5 hits in the next 2 games. He goes 8 for 16 in 4 games on the week for the Jackrabbits, drives in 5 and scores 5 times. And some great news this week for a former South Dakota State Jackrabbit. The Cincinnati Reds have called up pitcher Lane Sampson. Sampson was the Summit League Pitcher of the Year in 2013. He was drafted by the Reds that year, and he has been in their AA and AAA system since, but he gets the call up this week. Coming up, a look ahead to the League Tennis Championships coming up this weekend, and a look at the first competition on that sparkling new outdoor track and field facility at the University of South Dakota.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau.
The Summit League Tennis Championships start this Friday in Omaha. It'll be the first championship event hosted by the University of Nebraska-Omaha. And our guys at IUPUI will be the number 2 seed in the men's tournament. The Jaguars will play Oral Roberts in the first round. Denver is the top seed. They will play Omaha in the semis on Friday. Denver is the women's number 1 seed as well. The Pioneers will play Oral Roberts, while South Dakota State and South Dakota will meet in the other women's semifinal match, and the tennis championships are coming up on Saturday. And South Dakota will host the Summit League Track Championships, the outdoor championships, on May 12th through the 14th. They will do it at the new Lillibridge Track Complex, the new outdoor facility in Vermillion, just north of the Dakota Dome. The Coyotes hosted their first official competition in the new place last week in the USD Twilight Meet. And as the first official meet at the facilities, the winners all set new track records. And junior Ashley Thompson wins the triple jump, a mark of 40 feet, 4 1/4 inches. South Dakota senior Peter Chapman clears a new personal best of 17 feet, 1 1/2 inches in the pole vault. That is tops in the Summit League this season and 28th in the nation right now. Coyote senior Kyle McKelvey puts that shot out there, 57 6 1/4, and wins the event. And senior Tyler Frank clears 6'6" to win the high jump competition. South Dakota and South Dakota State are in competition this weekend at the Drake Relays in Des Moines. And we'll see you next week on Inside the Summit League.